let's talk about how Mark Zuckerberg wants us all to enter the Matrix. Many of you may have seen that yesterday, Facebook seems to be rebranding their organization as Meta instead of being Facebook, and they seem to be coalescing a lot of different elements of their organization into one overarching brand, because I'm aware that I think Facebook own the Oculus Rift
Yeah, I think that's right,
VR headsets, which will be relevant to what we're going to be talking about in a moment. But so this is their announcement that they put out on their website. At Connect 2021, CEO Mark Zuckerberg introduced Meta, which brings together our apps and technologies under one new company brand. Meta's focus will be to bring the Metaverse to life and help people connect, find communities, and grow businesses. The Metaverse will feel like a hybrid of today's online social experiences, sometimes expanded into 3 dimensions or projected into the physical world. It will let you share immersive experiences with other people, even when you can't be together, and do things together you couldn't do in the physical world. It's the next evolution in a long line of social technologies, and it's ushering in a new chapter for our company. Mark shared more about his vision in a founder's letter, blah, blah, blah. It goes on as such. It sounds like marketing speech. It sounds like pie in the sky kind of idealist thinking, but you can see there that they have some interesting ideas of what they want to do to bring people together. And just to look into the word meta, for those who aren't aware or may not be as familiar with pop culture as someone like I am, meta can generally mean self-referential, but when used as a prefix for something, it can mean something, I would say, outside of the concept that it's attached to. For instance, a meta-narrative, as I'm sure you're familiar with, Tom, does not necessarily... A narrative is something small and fixed, like the narrative you could find in a book. A meta-narrative would be a narrative that expands itself to all of society. For instance, Marxism could be considered a meta-narrative, as you've said a number of times. But yes, it seems that the key to one of the new exciting keys to his rebranding is this metaverse that was mentioned here. If we skip over to the next article. So Mark Zuckerberg has laid out his I know he's embarrassing, isn't he? Oh, actually, no, not this yet, not just yet. But yeah, Mark Zuckerberg has laid out his vision to transform Facebook from a social media network into a metaverse company in the next 5 years. A metaverse is an online world where people can game, work, and communicate in a virtual environment, often using VR headsets. The Facebook CEO described it as an embodied internet where just instead of just viewing content, you are in it. Sorry, John, I think this was all in a BBC article. I must have forgotten to put it in there. Apologies. He told The Verge that people shouldn't live through small, glowing rectangles. That's not really how people are made to interact, he said, speaking of reliance on mobile phones. A lot of meetings that we have today, you're either looking at a grid of faces on a screen or something. You're looking at a grid of faces on a screen. That's not how we process things either. One application of the metaverse he gave was to be able to jump virtually into a 3D concert after initially watching on a mobile phone screen. You feel present with other people as if they were in your in other places, having different experiences that you couldn't necessarily do on a 2D app or webpage, like dancing, for example, or different types of fitness. He said, Facebook is also working on an infinite office that lets users create their ideal workplace through VR. In the future, instead of just doing this over a phone call, you'll be able to sit as a hologram on my couch, or I'll be able to sit as a hologram on your couch, and it'll actually feel like we're in the same place, even if we're in different states or hundreds of miles apart, he said. I think that's really powerful. So, as you can see, this sounds to me like that he's ignoring a certain benefit of a phone screen, which is, as much as it does drag people in and as much as people can be damaged by addictions to social media websites and other such things, the fact that it is all contained on a phone where you have a distinct physical separation between what's on the phone and reality. There's a reason that people say that some people are terminally online or think Twitter is real life, is because it shows this is not real life. Whereas this is seeming to attempt to cut that distinction down and eliminate that distinction by providing you a place where you don't have to ever leave your virtual space. You could be sat in a puddle on the side of the road with your headset on, pretending that you're at the Bahamas. It's a bit creepy and dystopian
just
sounding,
a little bit, yeah,
to me. And yeah, if we go over to the
this is what I was laughing at.
Yeah, if we go over to the clip now, John, if you just play this, you'll get a look at what it seems to be the vision for the metaverse is. If you just play that clip for us.
Imagine you put on your glasses or headset and you're instantly in your home space. It has parts of your physical home recreated virtually. It has things that are only possible virtually. And it has an incredibly inspiring view of whatever you find most beautiful.
Hey, are you coming?
Yeah, just gotta find something to wear. All right, perfect.
Of course, that's what he would choose.
Oh, hey, Mark. Hey,
Oh,
what's
these
going
are
on?
his friends, of course.
What's up, Mark?
Whoa, we're floating in space? Who made this place? It's awesome.
Right? It's from a crater I met in LA.
This place is amazing.
Boz, is that you?
Of course it's me. You know I had to be the robot, man.
I thought I was supposed to be the robot.
Whoa.
Yeah, and that was just a little clip that John shared on his Twitter earlier on today that gives you a taste of what they envision it to be. Now, obviously, I think the word that could describe it the most is lame. It looks immensely lame, but it is also very ambitious, and I very much doubt that it will look anywhere near that functional or smooth when it does get implemented. But the point is that they are trying to introduce a virtual space where you do not have to connect with others on a physical basis any longer. You can choose what you look like. You can choose what avatar that you will take. You will choose what outfit. You can make the ideal version of yourself.
So this is the post-lockdown world.
Yes, this is the post-lockdown world. I do find it very convenient that after a year, well, almost 2 years at this point, of a lot of people being locked down, especially if you're out in Australia, I apologize that your government is treating you so poorly still, that this has come about after people have been have been made to be so used to be at home alone. This seems like it's been kind of positioning itself as an escape, almost from this.
There's absolutely no question that at the back of his mind, or even at the front of his mind, he knows that there are people who are almost finding solitude in being in a state of isolation.
Yeah, there are some people who absolutely love the fact that they do not have any responsibility to go out and interact anymore.
He's realised you can actually make a business out of people staying indoors.
Yeah, and you've also got to understand as well, I mean, there have been a number of attempts to do other such things in the past, probably not as ambitious as this, and certainly not with the sort of money that Facebook, well, Meta, can provide to it, but they do tend to get, and the only thing that I can hope is it will get infested by trolls, as they always do. I mean, VR chat gave us such classics as the Ugandan Knuckles memes, and I'm sure there have been many people who've been reduced to tears in these sorts of environments. But there's also the question of, do you want to live your life or interact with other people in that kind of environment? Will you be able to have a natural and unfiltered conversation with somebody?
How can you ever think that something like that is homely in the slightest?
Yeah. That sort of thing seems to me to be ideal for anybody looking to monitor every interaction that a human being has with one another. Facebook, Twitter, all of the Silicon Valley giants already have enough of a monopoly on discussion and technology and discourse throughout society as it is. So introducing a situation where everything you say and everything that you do will be probably kept and monitored and kept in a backlog where they can refer back to it. I mean, we already see what's happening with the censorship of discussions. I mean, Carl and I were discussing the other day how it's come out to light recently that it appears that there is a lot of incest between the big Silicon Valley tech giants and governments who are looking to push what they want. I mean, Nick Clegg, I believe, is vice president of some department of Facebook.
How did he get that?
I don't know. He managed to position himself in that. So do we want these sorts of people presenting us with the Matrix? I mean, there's also the image of that. It reminds me a little bit, speaking to, which is why I titled it The Matrix. It reminds me a little bit of, you've seen the film, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, everybody loves The Matrix. It reminds me of that part of The Matrix where Agent Smith is talking to Morpheus and he describes how they created the perfect utopia for human society to experience while they were in The Matrix, and people rejected it. It looks like that kind of utopian dystopia that human beings know is inauthentic to their experience. But yeah, if moving on, this all goes alongside, this is a dispatch that Hugo put out recently that George Soros is currently backing an anti-disinformation firm that's launching in the US called Good Information Inc. Could you get any more suspicious than a title declaring themselves as good
You
information.
might as well have called it Evil Corp.
Yeah. But yeah, so Rory's got it written down here. So a new civic incubator committed to investing in immediate solutions that counter disinformation and increase the flow of good information online has launched in the US. Great. I mean, we're just going to decide what's true now. Nobody's elected us. We've just got lots and lots of money, so we can just decide what's true.
Let's just end media plurality.
Yeah, I imagine that these people are going to be heavily involved in Facebook, heavily involved in Twitter, and any sort of, and Google as a tech giant that it is, but backed by billionaire Democrat megadonor George Soros and LinkedIn co-founder Reid Hoffman, as well as Silicon Valley investment tycoons Ken and Jen Duda. Good Information Inc. Aims to fund and scale businesses that cut through echo chambers with fact-based information. I'll believe that when I see it.
Mm-hmm.
According to Axios, the group will be led by Tara McGowan, a former Democrat strategist who headed the nonprofit investment firm Acronym that provides financial assistance to companies involved in progressive causes.
Excellent.
So right there, you can see this is already going to have an incredible bent towards progressive ideas,
Oh,
and everyone involved in this is a Democrat. So you can also imagine what kind of information that they're going to explain is true and not true to you, and on that basis, what they will say, probably recommend to be censored for people. So it says here, Rory continues, under McGowan's leadership, Acronym ran one of the largest digital campaigns against former President Donald Trump in the lead up to the 2020 election. The organization, which delegated $100 million to the anti-Trump cause, was also a major investor in Shadow Inc., the company which produced the smartphone app that compromised the legitimacy of the results of Iowa's 2020 caucus elections. So these people have all been heavily involved in the fortification of last year's election, not making any particular comment on that. YouTube, what went one way or the other. I honestly don't have the information to make a declarative statement on that personally, but they all seem to be pushing a particular agenda. And I would imagine that if the information falls on one side of the political aisle or the other, you can tell immediately whether it's going to be true or false, sadly. So taking Twitter to celebrate the launch of Good Information Inc., McGowan hailed the venture as something that would address the all-hands-on-deck challenge for American democracy and fix the broken, divisive information ecosystem which we find ourselves in today. I still believe that winning elections is necessary to preserving our democracy, but the information crisis is bigger than politics and requires solutions beyond it. So they're framing it as if the Republicans were to get into office in America again, that they would immediately abolish American Republic democracy, which I don't think is one of their campaign promises.
No.
I've never seen it pushed by Donald Trump or anyone. And I'm sure that fixing the information crisis will help them win plenty of elections. And I've just also made a note here that these people, I hate the way that they throw out the word democracy. Constantly, they just use it as a big buzzword, and I think what it actually means is we get what we want, and they position themselves as the ambassadors of democracy.
It's the way they use divisive as well.
Yes.
Just all that amounts to is we don't like what the conclusions
If you
of
disagree with us, you're a reactionary, you're divisive, we are the arbiters of progress, we are the ambassadors of truth, and everybody who is not on our side is against truth.
I mean, is George Soros actually trying to make him his own stereotype?
He doesn't help himself, does he? Like, just another example of Alex Jones having the right ideas by the sounds of it.
Yeah.
And just to put a pin on this, if people were to get too involved in the metaverse, if it does turn out to be a rousing success that functions perfectly and looks even better than what Mark Zuckerberg was putting forward there, even in that situation, it will not help people's social media addictions. People already have enough of a problem disconnecting from society. So I just got this up. So to point out that social media addiction is a growing phenomenon, not just in the United States, but worldwide. The average person spends nearly 2 hours a day using social media, which amounts to 5 years and 4 months of his or her lifetime. In that time, a person could run more than 10,000 marathons or travel to the moon and back on 32 separate occasions. Obviously, this article is not necessarily saying that that's what they will do. It's just an example of what you could do with that time for scale. For teens, social media time spent could be up to 9 hours every day. And following on from that, a 2018 study found that teens who spend 5 hours or more per day using their phones were almost twice as likely to exhibit depressive symptoms than counterparts who dedicated only 1 hour
That's
on
not
their phones.
surprising at all,
I
is
mean,
it?
even just 1 hour, if you are just on social media scrolling through it, is probably not great for you. But the fact that 5 hours will increase your depression, and then all of a sudden they're introducing a immersive virtual world where you get to spend all of your life in it
And it's
potentially.
almost as if they want us to be depressed, isn't it?
I know, it's almost like they're trying to demoralize us, perhaps. I wonder if anybody had any ideas about that.
You know, there is potentially something positive in this very, very what word am I looking for? Dysphoric story here, and that is perhaps if Facebook, or Meta as we shall now call it, the US government kind of mobilizing around this, and George Soros, who of course is going to have pretty much all of the power of information in this platform. If you combine all of those things, you could actually see potentially a class divide between those who identify as progressive and those who just don't, who actually just want to continue living in the real world. So maybe the progressives will put themselves out of existence eventually.
Well, I mean, I think if how you're discussing it might go forwards, you'd be able to tell just by who goes outside and who doesn't.
I am stretching very, very far to try to find some good news in this. That's pretty much all I've got.
Yeah, I mean, once again, at the very least, if this did happen, then at least all of the progressive weirdos would just stay inside and we can all go out and enjoy ourselves.
Yeah, well, if anything, we could actually have the society we had before, or that we had before, kind of restored. Where...
Just sadly, I don't see it going that way.
No.
This does all sound dystopian. The only hope that I can have, as I've said, is that given the functionality of these kinds of projects that they've put forward in the past, I think there's issues. What is it? Examples like Second Life and other such things, is they all tend to crash and burn because to a certain extent, like other things that we've discussed, people recognize a certain inauthenticity about it. People would much rather be out in person with their friends. That's why issues with mental health have been so prevalent over the lockdown, because people being locked away from their friends. Nothing's ever stopped anybody over the past 2 years from being able to just go on their phone and have a conversation with people and just FaceTime with all of their friends, do a Zoom call or whatever. But it's just not the same. And I think we all recognize that.
No, but then again, over lockdown, people have veered more towards the other way, given that the right to actually go outside was taken away from them and they were forced into the matrix.
Yes, the government decided to take away all our rights to go outside.
Yeah.
If you enjoyed that segment from the podcast The Lotus Eaters, you can watch the full thing at 1 p.m. every weekday at lotuseaters.com, or you can sign up to get access to all the premium content we have on the site.
Yeah, we've got loads of really good stuff. Every week we have a Contemplations and Epochs episode that goes up, and in the Contemplations we talk about just interesting things, and the Epochs episodes are probably my favourite because I love talking about history. This latest one is we're doing a bit of a series on the 100 Years' War and why England kept winning. And we've not finished it yet, and you're going to really enjoy the end of that one. But we've also got other excellent episodes that we do, like the book club. The most recent one was Shooting an Elephant by George Orwell. This was about his time in Burma as a colonial officer, and when he was tasked with the shooting of a rampaging elephant. And it's really, really interesting what the circumstance of the thing was. But we also have lots of other content, such as premium articles, which have audio tracks on them for our silver and gold subscribers. And we do premium podcasts about things that we don't really feel that we can put on YouTube or have done a particularly large amount of research into. And so it's worth keeping them slightly more private. And we also do lots of very interesting interviews, such as this one with comedian Steve Hughes, which was really fascinating because I didn't expect him to be a philosopher. But anyway.
Yeah. Also, the last thing to mention is the live event content we have. So we occasionally, when we get around to it, doing our live events, and the videos from them are on the website as premium, of course, because people came to see and paid. So go and check that out. This is on the worst of critical race theory.
Yes.
And I do mean the worst.
It's unconscionable.
Yeah. So if you'd like access to all that premium content, go to lotuseaters.com and subscribe. Thank you and goodbye.